challenging now for me is a lot more challenging than challenging was back then, right? And I look at my worldview. When I look at the world, I look at $1,000 and it's nothing. It's nothing. I see $1,000 hit my account, right? Like yesterday, I just got a notification on my phone. It was like, yesterday you made like $2,000-$3,000.
Calm flex.
I look at it and I'm like, fuck, I need to make more money. I feel broke because I got so many bills. Like my overhead's so high. So I look at $1,000. I'm like, I'm gonna blow that in a day. If I go to a nice dinner, that's gone.
Right.
If I buy a flight, it's gone. Right? I think the challenge changes. Because when I was broke, $1,000 was a lot. My paychecks at some point were like $1,200 every 2 weeks. And I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, this $1,200 is gonna last me the next 2 weeks. Now I see $1,000, $2,000 hit the account, I'm like, fuck, I need more money. This is not enough, I'm gonna die.
You know what's interesting? I'm happy that you said that, because with the overhead, I think a lot of people get this misconstrued when it comes to money. The more money you make, the higher the overhead.
Yep.
So when you see somebody who's making, let's say, $1 million, right? If you make $1 million, your overhead is $1 million, you're broke. You may appear to have $1 million on paper, but if your overhead is $1 million, you're broke. If your expenses and your income is the same, you're broke. So somebody's net worth could say a particular number, but you don't know what the expenses is. I've always found that fascinating, because if somebody has, let's just say it's a number of subscribers, followers, you could Google their net worth, whatever the case is, you don't know what the expenses is.
So this is the craziest part of my life. People see me on social media and they're like, okay, this guy, I'm relatively chill compared to a lot of other people living like extravagant lives. When I look at my spending report, I'm gonna show you, you can read it for the people. For April, look how much I spent.
$34,000.
$34,000, right? And you think it's an outlier, you look at May, look how much I spent.
$33,000.
$33,000. For June, I'm doing good. Looking for June.
$8,000.
$9,000.
Yeah, about 8.7, around there. Yep.
When I look at this, I think, holy shit, how did I get, because I'm being broke, I was like, I just need to make 20 grand a month. If I can make 20 grand a month, I will have a nice place to live, I'll have a nice car, I have a nice everything.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I need to make money. But then I realized, I think I failed to realize there's little luxuries in life that cost a lot of money. I never cook. I have not cooked once, I just order food. And I have expensive tastes. I like eating Wagyu. I like eating sushi every day. I like eating lobster, steak, seafood, oysters. And these things are not cheap. You go to a dinner, it'll cost you $400, $500, right? I like living in a nice place. You don't realize how expensive rent is, because the rent is about a third of that already.
Right.
So I think 20 grand, that's gonna be great, because my rent at the time was, I think I lived with a roommate, my rent was $1,200.
Right.
So I'm thinking my rent's gonna be 4 grand, I'm gonna have a really nice place. But then when you have that 4 grand, you're like, oh, this is not nice compared to that fucking place over there.
Right.
So eventually you just start cambering up. And then now I'm spending 33 grand a month just to live. I'm not doing nothing crazy. I'm traveling a little bit. I'm having lunch. I'm living in a nice place. $33,000 a month is now my normal.
Right.
Whereas in the past it was, 20 grand a month, I'll be good. Now I need $33,000 just to live.
And if you look at it, and if you try to quantify it, in 2 months, you've spent in regular overhead. This not even, is that attributing business, or that's just a regular? So this is just your regular day-to-day life, right? Yeah. Your personal, right? Nearly $70,000 in 2 months. That's the above average American salary, right? So now that goes back to, what is the life that you achieve, you're striving for? Like if you ask somebody, what is your dream life, right? And they could list off what it is. I want this kind of car, I want this kind of house, I want my children to be doing this, I want my day-to-day to look like this. All right, cool. What's your expenses gonna look like? Nobody thinks about that. And nobody thinks about that.
I don't think people realize what actual expenses look like.
Right.
Because, like I said, I thought 20 grand was gonna be fine, because at the time, I was making 5-6 grand a month, and I was surviving. So I was like, yo, if I make 4 times as much, you know how much I can do with that money? And then I realized a lot more comes with it.
Right.
Because you can't just live in a place like this and be frugal like how I was. Like theoretically, I can live here and then cook every single meal, eat ramen noodles, and be a little bit frugal. It doesn't match, because once you upgrade an aspect of your life, the rest has to follow.
Yeah, it has to be congruent. Yeah.
And then the craziest part about that is, even now, I feel like, okay, if I get to, I don't know, 150 grand a month, now I could live in a nicer place, be good. Because no matter what, right? If I was broke, you're only in proximity to those right above you.
Right.
You're never gonna be like, there was no way when I was making $5-6 grand a month, I'm gonna be around people making $1 million a month. Because there was no correlation there. So me making that much money, the best I could see was those guys living in like apartments that were $3 grand a month, $4 grand a month. That was my idea of successful. But then when I made that $3-4 grand a month, I see guys that are in apartments that are like $9-10 grand a month. And I'm like, okay, that's gonna be better. Now I see people like one of my friends, he pays $30-something thousand a month in rent.
Yep.
Sick place, sick penthouse. And I'm like, okay, this is the next level. But no matter what, because he can go and see someone in a house on one of these houses in South Beach on Star Island. We could see it from right here. He can be in one of those $100,000 a month houses and think that's the next level for me.
Right. And you're constantly, it's like you have to find what works for you. Because there's a lot of people who will be like, oh boy, what? You're spending $30,000 just to be able to live per month. But you would be surprised the type of lifestyle that one may want. It may be that they just don't want to spend that much money.
Yeah.
But if you look at it like, all right, cool. If you want to be in the location where you're spending, like, let's just say your total overhead was at like 10K. You have to then set the parameter of what is it that you're going to have to earn on a yearly basis to be able to maintain that.
Right.
And then you have to go out and go get that, because those bills are going to exist. Unless, like, let's say you buy a house outright, then the only thing you have to worry about is property taxes, depending on where your location is. But then you're still in a situation where you still have overhead every single month.
And the thing is, I get a lot of comments when I tell people how much I spend. They're like, oh, you're stupid, I want to do that. I'm like, well, first of all, you can't do it.
Right.
I spend your entire year's salary in a month. So first of all, you can't do it. But secondly, it's like, how the fuck do you know? You've never made this much money. Because I can guarantee, no matter what, if they're struggling with how much, they're like, oh, I just want a simple life. They don't make the money, so they don't know.
Exactly.
It's hard. Like, if someone richer than me saw that and was like, oh, you're stupid, okay, understandable. But the comments typically come from people that have never done it. And they'll always hate on people spending more money. And at the end of the day, it's like, trust me, I've been in your position, and it's hard to explain that to them. They don't get it until
until you get there. It's like when people, man, money, if I just had money, life would be amazing. And then you get the money, you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's not as amazing as I thought it was going to be.
So I have a question. Have you splurged on anything recently?
Outside of travel experiences, I don't think there's been anything in particular that I have did a large purchase on something.
No, okay, I got a good one. I had a mastermind at my house. I was charging people $3-4 grand to come. Some people paid $10,000.
Yes.
You paid that. I think it was three grand, right? I sent you an invoice for $3,000. You paid it. That's kind of how we connected.
Immediately.
You paid it immediately. When you were broke, when you had $50 in your account, could you ever envision yourself spending $3,000 to come somewhere on a week, just come to Miami on a weekend?
Fuck no. Ain't no way in hell.
100%.
When I was broke, spending $100 took a mental battle. Like I'm legit, where you know how people have like the meme where it's like you have the angel over here, the devil over there, and you're just going back and forth. Maybe you should spend this money. No, you shouldn't. You're broke, baby. So you're going back and forth about what's going on. When I was completely broke, where I had to rob Peter to pay Paul, pretty much. And I'm in a situation where I'm just like, oh boy, I don't think I would ever spend $2,000 in one shot. I would never do something like this. It wasn't until I expanded my horizons, because I knew there was more to life that's out there.
Yeah.
So in order to get there, you have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to step out of your bubble.
You said something really profound. You said, I've changed my relationship with money.
I changed my relationship with money, because money is just a form of exchange, but money can get you access. Money can get you freedom. Money can get you in different particular kind of rooms, because you never know who you're going to meet, because life is all about relationships. So how can I try to get to, how can I be in a position where I want to make I want to make like $30,000 a month. I want to make $50,000 a month. I want to make $100,000 a month. I want to get to, 50 million or whatever, if I don't get around those people. Because how are you going to get around those people if you don't spend that kind of money? How do you expect to make $50,000 in one day if you're not willing to spend that? A lot of people will say, man, I want to be a millionaire. Are you prepared to spend $1 million?